The Holler Kings, where the horror's southern fried.
Hello, it's me, Craig.
And it's me, Adam.
And we're the Holler Kings.
The motherfucking Holler Kings.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we are the ones who knock.
I heard you had some news.
Yes, I did. Breaking news. We want to let y'all know that we recently did an episode for King Kong Lives, and we talked very much in that episode how this movie's impossible to find, but actually it's not. It's readily available pretty much on all streaming services now. So you can go rent, buy it, however, whatever tickles your fancy, and you can experience the joy of Linda Hamilton doing open heart surgery on a huge ape.
You said it was available in like hard copy too?
Oh no, I don't know about that. Yeah, just streaming and stuff.
Cool.
I didn't check the hard copy angle. No, I just saw that it was available on the streaming services.
I mean, we only recorded that several weeks ago.
Yeah,
and it was
hasn't been
literally
long.
just available on a ripped copy on YouTube.
Yeah.
To stream. So that's very cool. So be sure to check it out if you haven't yet. King Kong Lives. But shifting gears,
Let's do that.
we have another film to discuss today.
Absolutely.
What is it?
This time we went beyond the realm of possibility. We went beyond the fragment of man. We watched The Beyond.
I was like, how long are you going to do this? This is impressive.
7 Doors of Death. The director of Poltergeist says, a truly original haunted house thriller.
I can feel a presence. Somebody else is in here. And if there's one thing I've learned not to believe in, it's ghosts.
2 beautiful girls trapped in a nightmare of supernatural horror.
I must be going crazy.
An evil spirit waiting to unleash its sinister revenge. See 7 Doors of Death, rated R.
Also released as the 7 Doors of Death, heavily edited version in the US.
The Beyond, 1981-ish, I think.
I think so.
Lucio Fulci movie.
I'm glad you pronounced it. I was about ready to stumble through his name.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's what I'm here for, baby.
I'm going to just show my cards up front. This is my first Fulci movie.
This is your first one? Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I knew who he was, and I know about Zombie, and
right.
I know the very broad strokes of Italian horror cinema from this era, just kind of how it influenced some stuff and everything, but I haven't really bothered to go back and watch it.
Yeah. So this was your first one. This is the second, and I think it's the second in his Gates of Hell trilogy. You got City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and then House by the Cemetery.
I'm going to hazard a guess that these are connected in theme only.
Absolutely.
And not story elements.
The story elements aren't connected very well. So, these are in themes only of like the 7 Gates of Hell, like they talked about in The Beyond as we get into it. It's just those themes of like zombies and dead rising and all that. City of the Living Dead's amazing one you should check out. I'm pretty well versed in Fulci. I'm scholarly on him. No, this is only the second one of his I've watched.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you were being serious.
No, I've seen, I mean, I know a lot about him and many of the movies he's made and stuff. I don't know a lot about him, like, personally, just in, like, his filmography and everything. But the only 2 I've ever seen is City of the Living Dead and then now this one. So.
You had seen this before, though, correct?
No, this is my first time watching The Beyond ever, yeah.
Oh, I thought you brought this to the table, so I thought you had seen it before.
No, never.
So you did the whole thing where you like Googled horror movies set in the South,
Absolutely.
and this was one that came up.
That's exactly what happened.
I thought you picked it out of like true passion.
No. I mean, I really love City of the Living Dead, and I thought it'd really be cool. We haven't really covered doing movies from the South. I don't know how many Italian cinema, auteurs we're going to run into. So I thought it'd be a cool one to do.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It seems like an Italian crew, and it's definitely made like the Italian style because, like, even if you're not like a super big cinephile, I think it's pretty common knowledge that for some reason Italian movies, they do all their sound after the fact.
Yeah,
and they dub in.
Yeah, they don't do a whole, or at least back then, they didn't do a whole lot of like recording of sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly they just dub it all later.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of, I think it's pretty sure Suspiria, where it's notorious that he just played like what would be the soundtrack on the set during the movie while they were filming because they didn't record sound. And like, people like set designers were running around building stuff and everything because they could be as loud as they wanted. It didn't matter. So yeah, that's like a common theme of these early 70s, 60s, 70s Italian cinema.
I think they did it well into,
Yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know when they stopped, if they have stopped doing that method. But like, that's why you get like these things where they'll cast nationalities all over the place for the roles,
right?
And just let them speak in their own language and just dub it over for whatever market later. Mm-hmm. So even in like spaghetti westerns and stuff, you'll notice sometimes it's clear that, say, Clint Eastwood is the only one in the scene actually speaking English, and other people probably are speaking another language because their lines don't sync up very well. And
right.
That sort. So I noticed that in this film occasionally, where it felt like weirdly, I don't know if it kind of added to it in a weird way, the dreamlike quality that it's.
I think it does work, especially for these movies. Yeah, it's true. It will do that, and you'll get. That's why a lot of these Italian movies back then, there's a lot of them that were just. They were in English because they just did that. Where they didn't record everybody speaking Italian. You don't really have, the Italian track to it or whatever. It's mainly just like English.
I'm not gonna interject. I'm gonna allow you just to give us a plot synopsis, and I will accept whatever you tell me. Because
gonna throw me in the water on that one, aren't you? Well, just loosely, what it is, it's about this girl from New York.
A woman.
My apologies. A woman. A womanly matron who...
A spinster. An old maid.
This woman from New York who inherit, I don't know how or why, who it was from exact. I think her grandmother.
I thought she said an uncle for some
reason.
reason.
Maybe it was an uncle.
Yeah.
Inherited a house, an old hotel in Louisiana. So she goes down there to start rebuilding it and open the hotel up. And then...
She's from New York.
Yes.
She mentions that.
Did I say that? I thought
you
I
probably
said
did.
Well, just loosely, what it is, it's about this girl from New York.
An old maid.
This woman from New York who...
She's from New York.
Yes.
She mentions that.
Did I say that? I thought
you
I said
probably
that.
did.
Okay.
You probably did. I'll just cut me out if you did.
Leave it in.
After I said, like, I'm not going to interject at all, I still, like, micromanaged it.
Sir, let me interject with something you said. And then horror ensues.
Yeah,
I'd say.
She also inherits staff.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where the house or the motel or whatever, hotel is in horrible disrepair.
Looks like it pretty much should just be demolished.
Right.
I think you do better off just rebuilding another one.
Yeah, or selling the land, making something else out of it. But like,
yeah,
it's weird to me that she inherits staff, because it's like, what was the staff doing before she showed up? Because the whole place is in complete disrepair. There's like...
They weren't staffing.
Yeah. I mean, because at one point she's kind of assigning duties to all these people. She's like, hey, you got to check out the chimney, you go to the basement, whatever. And like when it kind of shows brief sequences of these characters doing their job, they seem like shocked at how terrible everything looks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
didn't you work here before? It said you were staff. Like, I guess maybe the uncle was like senile and nuts, and they just kind of like were on the payroll and just hanging out, bullshitting, and this lady showed up, and now they have to do real work, and they're flabbergasted, I guess. I don't know. You sidestepped the origin, the opening, the sepia opening set in like 1929 or something like that, right?
I think it was maybe even a little further back than that. But yeah. I didn't quite grasp what they were doing. I know it was some painter who apparently did something horrible.
Yeah, it's a little vague.
I don't know.
I think he's supposed to be a warlock.
Yeah, he calls him a warlock.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know what they mean by that.
I don't know how they discovered it, but apparently he's trying to open up some kind of gateway to hell.
Is he trying to open up one of the gates?
I guess.
I mean, fuck. I
don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, just in fairness to us, like, if you didn't read some kind of synopsis to explain it to you, I mean, if you just watch the opening scene, I mean, it doesn't make a lick of sense. I mean, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, just like a group of people come up, it's like old school, black and white style. A group of people come upon a house or motel, abduct a guy painting, and then mercilessly flog him with chains.
Brutally.
I mean,
those lashes are intense.
Yeah.
And just spilling blood. Yeah, they come over on boats.
Right. This is Louisiana. I don't know that we've mentioned it much, but yeah.
Like, I didn't see any water around the hotel when it's in present day.
No.
So I don't know.
No. It was literally just a visual to look cool.
Yeah,
and then they didn't worry about it later.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think that's like the explanation for everything in this movie is it looks cool, so don't think too much about it.
That's the beauty of Italian cinema. You don't come for the story, you come for the visual element. Because you're not getting a fucking story.
No, I mean, like, this thing is just, it's clear that sometimes there's no connective tissue, like, there's no internal logic to choices characters make.
No.
I mean, even, like, in 80s slasher style choices, it doesn't even go that far. I mean, we'll get into that, though. There's one sequence in particular where I was like, I don't understand what happened here. But, you know, it was really interesting.
That's sometimes nice because I feel like a lot of other countries, they don't really, like, I think America, the United States, is one of those, I don't know of many other countries where it's like, we need to make a movie that makes sense and is logical and has all of its bases covered. In other countries, like with like Italian cinema, a lot of European cinema in general, none of that shit matters. It's just like, who cares? We're just telling the story, you know.
We're a very plot-driven, story-driven,
yeah,
cinema culture, I guess.
Yeah. But I just don't feel like that is as important in a lot of other countries in their cinema.
Not.
So, you know, but yeah.
But yeah, this warlock, horribly flogged, and then they like nail him to a wall, throw lye on him, I think.
Is that what it was?
It's supposed to be?
I didn't know what it was boiling. That's all I know.
They throw something caustic on this warlock, and it it destroys his face. I mean, it makes him horribly disfigured and burns him really badly. And then I guess they hole him off, like...
Yeah.
They build like a wall around them.
Yeah.
Although that also gets thrown in a weird way later in the film because the nails that they put him up, like they drive nails through his wrist to nail him up against the wall. And later a character discovers those in another room.
In a bathroom, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's just like ghostly evil doings, or... Well, if it was a logistical thing, I'm not sure.
Maybe they killed him in one room and then buried him in the basement later.
Maybe.
And it just didn't really explain it that well.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, he is buried, like kind of like, what do you call it? Thrown into a wall. They build a wall around him in the basement.
Yeah, kind of like that what's that? Is it an Edgar Allan Poe
I think so.
story?
Yeah.
I forget which one it is.
Where they seal him off in a I'll
Is it the
later,
Black Cat? I don't know.
so.
It's Edgar Allan Poe, though. I know that.
Later, I'm gonna drop it in that I knew.
Perfect. That'll work.
You'll ask, and it'll just like cut straight to
Well, let me tell you, sir.
as an Edgar Allan Poe
Aficionado.
Oh, I just remembered. The Cask of Amontillado, something like that.
So yeah, cut to modern day. This lady's inherited it, and she's trying to fix it up because it's in horrible disrepair.
Yeah.
And shenanigans ensue for sure. Starting with Joe the plumber.
Yeah. So, was that a good synopsis for y'all?
Yes, where I didn't interject at all.
I mean, that incoherent mess that we just gave y'all is basically what you get with the movie.
I'll do my best to pare it down a little bit so it's not quite as
No,
meandering.
leave it, because I feel like the struggle that we're having with explaining it kind of fits with what the movie does in telling it.
Well, and I don't think they were even trying to tell a
No,
coherent
they're not.
story. They're not worried about it.
And I mean, yeah, that's just kind of Suspiria is kind of like that. Even though Suspiria's got more of a story, it's got a lot of like weird stuff that doesn't make any sense. City of the Living Dead, another Fulci one. It's another like incoherent thing, and you're like, what the fuck's going? I mean, it's cool. We got people throwing up their intestines and bleeding from their eyes. It's awesome. But it's like, I don't know what's going on here. Why are they doing that? Oh, there's this dude getting his head drilled. Why is that happening? You don't understand any of it, but it's cool. It's visually breathtaking, and the effects are amazing and gory and goopy, and it's a lot of fun.
How'd you feel about this movie?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved
Really?
it. Yeah, it was like I said, like I didn't know this was your first Fulci. I should have explained to you. So I went into it knowing it was I have no interest in story because it's not going to be there. I knew that going into it. I was just ready for a visual feast. So I loved on that front. I loved it.
Nice.
So
But you still like the previous movie a little bit more than this, you think? It's a City of the Living Dead?
Yeah, City of the Living Dead. You know,
Tough to say.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say. I'd probably say I do like City of the Living Dead more.
I appreciate what you're saying, and like intellectually, I think I understand that Italian cinema. Like I've seen some Argento stuff and everything, because that's like quintessential. Like you have to watch some of that stuff if you're into horror.
You at least have to watch Suspiria,
right? And so I was a little familiar with it, but I mean, it's not so much that it's dreamlike. Like I appreciate that. I appreciate like the Lovecraftian touches and everything. And I'm kind of okay with the story being a little incoherent, but the character choices and the just like no setup to where characters are spatially and why they make certain decisions. Like I get this is supernatural, so I guess maybe supernatural forces are like the scene that really made me go, hold on, there's something missing. Like, or I missed something here. Like, and I kept rewinding it was the scene where this is going to be so hard to explain, but there is a character that dies and is in the morgue, and his wife comes to visit the body.
Absolutely.
And like she is going, this is Louisiana in 1981, but for some reason she is preparing her husband's body for burial, and she is putting a suit on him, and it's a very sad it's a very somber scene, and suddenly she notices like caustic acid on a shelf, and it shocks her.
There's no rhyme or reason for. She just flips out and screams.
Yeah.
We don't see what she's screaming at or why.
Fair. Yeah.
There is, because her husband is Joe, the poor plumber.
Right.
That died, and they find his body and another body that's some years old.
Right. So he's supposed to be the original victim
Is
that we
that
see in
what
the
it-
opening sequence.
Is that what it was?
Someone says he's 60. He's been in there for 60 years.
Okay, they
Yeah.
said that was one thing I was confused about. I couldn't hear if they said 6 or 60. So they said 60.
Pretty sure they said
Okay.
60. Yeah.
That makes a little more sense now.
Yeah.
So and we get the sense that there's a point where he's hooked up to some like machine.
Oh, God.
with
Yeah.
I guess measuring brain waves.
For some reason, the doctors in this morgue are interested in hooking up
a 60-year-old dead body.
right to a brainwave
Yeah.
scanner. Which, by the way, this scanner, I mean, this is movie logic. It works like a heart monitor where it like beeps. I
Yeah.
guess if it measures brain waves. I
Right.
don't know. Yeah, like we as an audience know this thing is supernatural and it does have brain waves, whatever. But like, yeah, this lady is visiting. She sees Joe the plumber, and he was mangled in an earlier scene. His eyes were gouged out very graphically by the warlock, reanimated warlock. His wife sees his body on the slab, doesn't really react to it.
No,
like
not
he's,
at all.
he's horribly
Kisses him and
Yeah, I mean, he
everything,
looks
like,
terrible. I mean, and she just, very somber and touching and everything. And then, yeah, she reacts to something off screen, I guess. Flips out. Her daughter is waiting in the hallway. Her daughter, who looks like the Wendy's girl.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
yeah.
it's like kind of unbelievable. The daughter walks in, and like her mother is laying down on the ground, completely motionless,
Not
and, like,
moving an inch.
yeah, and like the daughter's like, "What?" Like starts freaking out, and then like a jar, a container that's unopened of acid that they have inexplicably in this morgue is on a top shelf. It falls over, angling where the contents will directly fall on the mother's face as she's prone on the ground. None of this makes any fucking sense. I mean, like, I was like, hold on, what? When did she lay down on the ground? When did the bottle of acid get opened and set up there? Why is it falling?
Do people just have open bottles of acid on top shelves?
I mean, in morgues? I mean, what are they even doing with acid there in the first place? Like, what would you do with
I mean,
it?
it's a morgue. Why do they have a brainwave machine?
I mean, I can at least accept that some ghoulish doctor might be like interested in some kind of brain activity in dead bodies.
Maybe.
And just as a lark, he's like, I'm going to hook it up to a 60-year-old body and to see what's on there. I mean, it's stupid. It makes no sense, but I could at least understand some kind of logic there. But like, why they have acid there, why it's on a top shelf unopened, I guess supernatural forces knock it over.
I guess a lot of it's chalked up to just supernatural forces.
Right. So this lady,
Because why would a woman who is having acid dumped on her face not move at all? And fucking supernatural forces.
I mean, there's like a real, and then like the next sequence is just the daughter trying to avoid the acid spillings or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like this very gory mass of just oozing, like blob style almost coming for her. Yeah, it's kind of like
Which we don't get an end to that scene.
No.
It just, she opens up one of the, I guess, one of the like morgue freezers and a dead body's there. She screams. It freezes on her face and then cuts to the next scene.
Yeah, and then there's just like a funeral with the daughter at the funeral for both her parents at this point. And it's just one of those things where you can't question it. I mean, like, because wouldn't someone be responsible for all this? Like this plumber and this woman dying in the hospital and the daughter seeing it all. Like, I mean, wouldn't there be some kind of fallout from that? But no, it just cuts to a funeral.
Well, you would think. We're going to pick this apart for the story elements just because it's fun, but where the fuck there's no investigation?
Oh, no.
When they find a dead plumber who was alive minutes ago, now he's dead, and then a 60-year-old body. There's nobody's questioning it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Even the dudes in the morgue are like, oh yeah. They all they reference is the 60-year-old dead guy. They don't reference that they have a fresh cadaver that was somehow killed. Somebody killed it?
Mercilessly,
Like
his
eyes
face fucked
gouged
up.
out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This wasn't an accident.
Right. And it's a newcomer to town. Like, there's no suspicion of this lady showing up, and then suddenly all these like horrible things happen at the motel. I mean, they don't even have like the prerequisite, like, lazy sheriff that's all like, things always happen at that motel.
Yeah.
Just something, just so we kind of go, okay, fine, that they don't give a fuck.
Right.
But
and it's funny when is her name Martha? Because there's two of the staff members. I think it's like Martha and Arthur.
Yeah, I think so.
Martha finds Joe.
Yeah.
Down. Now this is all taking place in a flooded basement, mind you.
In New Orleans, I'm pretty sure they don't have basements there.
Yeah, no, I don't.
The ground
think
is kind of
would.
weird in New Orleans. That's why they have like mausoleum style funerals.
Right, they
and
don't
stuff.
bury bodies. So this is in a basement that's flooded. It's not surprising. She finds the dead body of Joe. Doesn't react at all. No. It's just like, huh.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And then the 60-year-old dead body rises from a pool of water. Just rises to the surface. Not like gets up and walks. Just rises to the surface of the water. And she loses her shit.
Absolutely loses it. Yeah.
It's like, this dude, you just saw him alive.
Yeah, and she
20
knew him.
minutes ago. You knew this dude.
Right. They established that in the story that she knows Joe, and she's kind of like, oh, you're here, like that type of thing. And then
and then no reaction whatsoever. not even a reaction of like, oh, good, I'm glad he's dead.
Right, or just like
nothing.
You don't even get the idea that it's like shock of like, oh God, I saw this.
Oh, there's
she's
a
just
dead
kind of
body.
stumbling through it, but she just nonchalantly sees it, and I mean, poor Joe. No one really reacts to his death. I mean,
no. His wife kind of does.
She's sad that he died, but she's not like, wow, what the fuck happened to him?
What happened to my husband? She's just like,
right.
Well, let me walk in here, and she grabs scissors out of her purse. I feel like that was a thing back in the day. Like I remember my mom kept a pair of scissors in her purse. I don't know, like, what the fuck you doing with those scissors?
I don't know. You never know.
And they were like huge, almost like us style scissors. It was like a huge pair of scissors. I don't know. I never questioned it as a kid.
This is a prequel. She's one of the tethered.
That's what it is. But and she just starts making him a suit, or I guess cutting it so she can fit it on him.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of funeral suits. They're slit up the back to kind of make it easier to deal with it and everything. So I guess that's what she's doing, is just maybe that's why she brought the scissors, was just straight up she knew she was going to have to cut.
That's true.
Into it. Why she wouldn't have done that before, I don't know, but
why she's doing it at all, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I don't even know where to go after this. I mean, because this thing's just all over the place.
You just have to go jump around as much as you want, because it doesn't matter.
The gore in this. Why don't you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, the gore?
Yeah, there's a motif of eyes getting destroyed.
There's a big fascination with eyes. I feel like that's in a lot of like Italian cinema. I know Argento played with that a lot. Like don't quote me, I may be wrong. I think it's opera where there's like needles glued to like someone, or maybe I can't remember. They're like on someone's eyelids, so like if they close their eyes, it's going to stab into their eyes and everything. There's all these motifs of that. I think that's one thing that kind of is really fun about these movies is they go hard in the paint with the fucking gore, and like and they do like the crazy creative kills. Like there's a whole scene in here where a dude is getting eaten by tarantulas.
Yeah.
And like I mean eaten. When I say eaten, I'm not talking about bit. Like they're like pulling pieces of his skin off his face and his eyes.
Yeah.
So
and he's alive too. By the way. He's like conscious. Like
he's actually kind of moving around a little bit, unlike the acid woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually showing a little bit of movement.
The acid lady, she just like melts like a candle.
Basically, that's what happened.
Yeah. Do you know the trivia about that tarantula scene, by the way?
No.
So the guy that restored this movie in the late 90s and released it on DVD and all that stuff, he did some of the visual effects for Spider-Man.
Yeah. Grindhouse releasing.
Right.
Yeah.
And he supposedly used like some footage from that sequence in the Spider-Man sequence where it like shows all the graphics of how his genes are being altered by the spider bite.
Yeah.
So apparently there's something from the Beyond within Spider-Man. Like
Really?
he used some kind of footage from this sequence. Yeah. In there.
Wow.
I wouldn't be able to pinpoint it.
Yeah,
Just because I'm not familiar enough with it, but
That's wild.
yeah.
Holy shit. No, I did not know that.
So Fulci had a hand in one of the biggest blockbusters of 2002.
Yeah.
It's all true.
Yeah, I forget the gentleman's name, but yeah, he was a effects guy and I think like maybe an editor too. I'm not going to speak on it because I don't know for sure. But I know, he runs Grindhouse Release. But yeah, he's worked on some pretty big movies.
Yeah.
So I think it was him and there's a couple other. I think it's Stallone's kid. Was one,
Sage,
the one,
yeah.
that passed away.
Yeah.
He was had a hand in Grindhouse releasing too. So, yeah. Sorry, we were talking about the violence and gore. Yeah, so.
And I think that's a motif for sure. It's like the Lovecraftian thing of forbidden knowledge. Like all these people are discovering things about this house and this forbidden book that's within the house.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the book.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember everything in this movie.
Which that is in. I've forgotten how to pronounce it, but it's like
Ebon.
Ebon. Yeah,
I forget how they pronounce it in the movie.
That's in some Lovecraftian. Like that's an actual book in some Lovecraft stories, and I think it was created by one of his peers at the time, like Ashton Clark Smith or something. So it's like something that got grandfathered into Lovecraft. But yeah, it's a forbidden tome of knowledge, and anyone that kind of like learns about this stuff either is viciously killed and their eyes are gouged out, or they go blind. Their eyes are whited out. That's kind of like the two options for some reason.
I was just going to say, we have this one woman who, if I'm correct, was in the early scene.
Yeah.
And
she's in the 20s as well.
Yeah, reading, and she reads the book. And then cut to now, she's the same age, blind, with a little dog. Mm-hmm. Actually, a big dog.
Yeah, it's a German Shepherd.
But, so she's here to warn our protagonist, whose name I forget. Do you remember her name?
Oh, I do. I do remember. Her name is Liza.
Liza.
Yes.
There we go.
Remembered it off the top of my head.
Can't believe you had that already ready in your head.
Yeah.
So this woman is here to warn Liza on the fact that she's living on one of the gates to hell, and she needs to get the fuck out. But yeah, it's kind of one of the first time we meet her, as far as in the present day, it's one of the infamous scenes from the Beyond. If you ever see anyone kind of reference it or anything, that scene of driving on the bridge that's out on the ocean and her standing in the middle of it with just her and the dog is kind of like a infamous scene from this movie.
It's a very aggressive way to hitchhike too. Just get right in the middle of the road.
Just like, hey, I'm right here.
But yeah, I mean, and that's never really explained at all. I mean, how she is in both timelines and ageless. At one point, I mean, I'm not even really sure what she's supposed to be doing. You said warn the main character about the gate of hell.
Yeah.
But I guess once that's fulfilled, the warlock and his ghouls come back for her, because there's a whole sequence where she's at her house and she gets attacked.
And that's the only thing that gives us any semblance. She's saying, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Back to where?
Right. Like,
I don't know, but
I don't really understand what the warlock wants. Like, is it trying to warn people, like, not to mess with the gate? And that's why it's attacking everyone and gouging out their eyes, because the warlock doesn't want people to, like, learn about this gate and open it up. And if that's the case, wouldn't there be an easier way to go about that than viciously attacking everyone? Like I don't really understand the warlock's motivations.
Yeah, no, he doesn't either. Because it is like, was he trying? We never really get if he was, while he was still alive, was he trying to open the gate or trying to keep it closed? Or was he just learning about the gate and that was enough to get him killed?
I mean, spoiler, he's doing a painting of what is revealed to be hell at a certain point, or at least the gateway threshold to hell. So, I mean, he's actively seen it, or and on some level, whether it was in dreams or he literally visited it somehow and through magic came back to the regular world.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. It's unclear, and I guess it's purposefully unclear.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of where we're going with this.
Yeah.
It's just pretty unclear. It's a jumbled mess as far as like any coherent storyline goes. Really, what I would say is you come for the visuals in this. So how'd you feel about the look of the movie and sort of?
It was like I appreciated the camera movement, and like there was some like kind of interesting focus pulls. The gore is so over the top and silly that it was hard for me to really appreciate it. It's like in a weird zone of like, it's like so otherworldly, and I don't want to say badly done. It doesn't look realistic. Let's just say that. The artistry of it is kind of weird to me. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like a Tom Savini thing where it's so over the top and crazy that I'm like, whoa! Like I never had that feeling from it. Like most of the time, it looked kind of amateurish to me. Like the eyeballs getting popped out and everything. It looked like crude to me.
Right.
You know.
Now, do you think, because you bring up Savini, and this is something I think about with like Friday the 13th, the first one. Those are very crude effects. And I wonder, but I mean, it was kind of an infamous movie for its time. Do you think back then when this came out that the effects would have just been like, holy shit?
For sure. No. And that's the thing is I feel like if I had seen this at a younger age, it would have been very affecting.
For sure. Same here. Same here.
But seeing it now, it's just like the whole sequence where the lady is laying prone on the ground and acid is dumped on her face and her face melts away. To me, it was just hilarious and comical. Like it wasn't affecting. It didn't hit home to me in any way. I wasn't affected by the idea that like a daughter walked in on that. Like, like I think that's what you're supposed to feel is like, oh my God, this young lady walked in on her mother getting her face dissolved by acid. That's so horrifying. Could you imagine? But me, I was still just like wrapping my head around like, why is any of this happening?
Yeah.
Why was she doing this? Why was she even here? Why is she laying on the ground? Why is there an open vat? Like my head was spinning too much, and I just thought it was hilarious. Like, and I don't think that's the intention. Whereas Friday the 13th, the gore in it, I do think is kind of silly and is supposed to be celebrated in that way. Like, I don't get that from this. I feel like it's supposed to be very chilling and scary and affecting, you know?
Do you think that's also just because you watched Friday the 13th at an earlier age?
Possibly, because in fairness, that's true. That's a good point. Because in fairness, I took all that very seriously when I was a kid.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying.
That's
like,
true.
Catching something like The Beyond when, you know, you're like 12 or 13 on HBO, or renting it for 5 days for $5 at the video store back in the day, and popping this in at like midnight, I feel like it would blow your mind.
Oh yeah. No, that's a great point.
Yeah, watching it, you know, now it's just hilarious and ridiculous.
I mean, I don't want to be way too hard on it, because I have to acknowledge that this is made by a culture I'm not super up on. So, you know, this is Italian cinema, so I don't want to be too knives out for it. But like, it did feel a little bit like, you know, something like The Room at certain points, where it felt like made by someone that didn't understand like movies. It felt like that to me sometimes. It felt like someone that it felt like an alien.
You felt like this was directed by what's his name? The guy that did Troll 2.
A little bit. Yeah. And
who's an Italian director as well.
Exactly. Like, that's what, like, I don't want to be too vicious on it, because that's like borderline. That's pushing it. You know what I mean? But like, that's how it felt sometimes. It felt like someone explain to an alien how to make a movie and what a movie is about, or like that whole gimmick where people like supposedly feed AI.
Oh yeah, like the bot thing,
right? Like
yeah.
write me a script about this, and the bot comes back with all this incomprehensible. It felt like that sometimes. Where it was like, this is what a horror movie is, we swear, and this otherworldly thing kind of spat this out. No choice in this movie makes any sense to me. I mean, like
no, there's not one. The only choice you could possibly, and it's not even a great choice, but there's a point where they tell her, what was it, Liza? Mm-hmm. Tell her she needs to just leave, and she's like, I can't. This is all I have left. That's the only thing where I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that. You don't have anywhere else to go or anything else to do. You're kind of wrapped up in this. I mean, even still, you should go. But I kind of I get that point of just being like, this is all I have. I can't do anything else. I have to try to make this work. And then that was the only decision I understood.
Another funny thing about this?
What?
Was the painter that falls very early in the movie. Uh-huh. She's having the house worked on or whatever. And there's a painter, a very friendly guy, painting the exterior of the house. He's up on scaffolding, on the second story. And he sees a vision of that blind lady we had mentioned earlier.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow she's in the house, and it freaks him out. And he falls. And it cuts to him on a couch inside the house. They moved him. And I mean, he is just in horrible shape. This poor man. I mean, he's like spitting up blood. I mean, it's so brutal. And when they showed him fall, it didn't look that bad. I mean, he was only up like...
Yeah, it was just like...
I mean, it's the type of thing that I feel like if you fell, it might... Like an older person might hurt them badly, but like a sturdy adult, I feel like would be kind of okay.
Yeah.
But he was like...
And it seemed like he landed on his back, but it full looks like he landed straight on his head on a spike or something.
Sure, something had to have impaled him or something, I guess, because he's like spitting up blood, and he's just like beside himself, talking about this blind lady that he saw and everything.
Yeah.
And I love the doctor makes a house call to him, and he's like, yeah, let's get him to the hospital,
And they literally just pick him up and drag him out.
Right. It's pretty hilarious. I mean, and then we never see him again that I remember. He might come back as one of the zombies.
The painter?
And I've forgotten.
If I don't think so, because I don't think he actually dies. Oh, okay. So unless
he was spared.
Yeah, unless he was kind of unrecognizable. I don't think he came back.
Like,
it's so funny. Speaking of like, I mean, it just caught me as weird because she comes up and she's like, "Hey, painter guy," I don't remember his name, and he's like, "Hey," and they have a little back and forth, and then he's just like, "Bye," and I'm like, it just felt so weird and like someone that doesn't know like English, and I'm like, why would he just tell her bye? He's still right there. She's still there. Why is he telling her bye?
Yeah.
That made me laugh so much because I was like, you can tell that's an Italian director who's trying to
there were some moments
make
like
use
that.
of English language. Yeah.
That whole thing was kind of like if you saw in a movie a guy slip on a banana peel.
Right.
And then it cut to him. Next scene, he is just like spitting up blood, and you'd be like, "What? How? What? Why is it so brutal?" It was just an odd. Anyway, and then for some reason, anyone that discovers any kind of forbidden knowledge about this book or this house or the gate is viciously attacked and killed, or their eyes destroyed, whatever. But for some reason, the doctor towards the end of the film just literally finds the book and reads it.
Yeah,
and he's fine.
Yeah.
Like there's no repercussions until the very, very end. Obviously,
right, yeah.
Because this doctor character is like basically the co-lead, the guy that shows up to help the painter at the beginning. Once they figure out the shenanigans, he's like, let's go to the hospital. And I'm like, why are they going to the hospital?
I didn't understand.
I think they kind of wanted to go back to the body of the warlock that's in the morgue.
Maybe that's what it was.
Because he mentions his colleague in the brainwave thing, and they meet back up with him. But I don't know why. I don't know why that would be.
It's so funny. I don't know at this point they're... I mean, I guess from this point they're in hell. Mm. How they ended up there all of a sudden, because it seems like from this point they leave to go to the hospital, and you can already tell things are off because there's nobody in sight anywhere in the town. There's nobody in the hospital until there is, and it's zombies. So I guess at this point they're in hell, which doesn't make sense because then his morgue partner is there. So why is he there?
Well,
I guess just to get pieces of glass in his face.
Oh yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
That was. He shoots a window. The window explodes somehow towards them
Right.
from the gunshot, which doesn't make much sense.
I don't think that the filmmakers or actors on set understood firearms on any level. Because there was even a moment where the doctor is like reloading the gun, and you can see him trying to put a bullet into the actual barrel of the gun.
No shit, I didn't catch
There's
that.
a part like the elevator is closing, and you can see him like fidgeting, like trying to force the bullet into the barrel.
I didn't catch
And it's one of those
that
things
at
where
all.
you just think someone on set would be like, "Ho, ho, ho! That's going to look ridiculous." But I guess no one noticed it, and the actor thought that was totally normal to be loading the gun that way. I don't know, but. It was just like, I was like, man, I don't know that much about firearms, but even that's...
I know that's not good. I've seen enough spaghetti westerns to know that's not going to work.
And it's a revolver, too, so it's really obvious how you would load it, but whatever.
And it's funny because he keeps proving to himself that the only way he can take out these zombies is to shoot them in the head. But he's hell-bent on shooting them everywhere else before he shoots them in the head.
You're totally right. At first, I thought he was just a really bad shot.
Yeah.
But then there's a point where he's like right up on
Point
them,
blank on
shooting them in the chest and stuff
and
like
he's
that.
just like, he's like gut shot, shoulder shot. Oh, fuck it, fine, head.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
It's fascinating.
Well, let's stick the landing because we've literally talked about this. I don't know how the hell I'm going to cut this up, but
Don't. We need to leave this a jumbled mess because that's what it is.
So tell us about the ending because it punches out in kind of an
I don't
interesting
fucking
way.
know. It
Come on, you
I don't know how it ends up. So you're talking about the
visual of it is pretty cool.
that they are in hell and it's then like faded out to reveal that's the painting
right.
that the warlock was painting.
Yeah.
Which is a cool thing, which I didn't even clock until it went to the painting. I don't know if you noticed it before.
I think
then.
I did a little bit.
Did you? Yeah. I think by that point I was like, I'm ready to watch another movie because it's over with. Because I was just like, because they go into they're in the hospital, and that's how you know that before they even left the hotel to go to the hospital, they're already in hell. They're still in the hospital, go down. And then all of a sudden, it's a spiral staircase that leads to their basement. And they're still in the house. They go through and then walk into another world, ostensibly.
Yeah.
And at that point, we would realize that they're not in Kansas. They're in hell.
It's a pretty cool visual because it's almost like a void, and the ground is almost like, it's almost like the dry ice type of, film of.
I don't know why I said Kansas, Louisiana. I think I was going on with the Wizard of Oz motif.
That's how I took it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just want, Well, they're not in Kansas.
So it just punches out in a cool visual because they realize, they are in this dimension. They look back and forth and realize it's just going on forever in both directions, and it's kind of sinking in on them. That's how we punch out. So it's pretty effective ending to a well-crafted saga.
I think in what this movie means to be and is basically a visual painting, I think it does punch out in a well-to-do place.
Well, and I feel like if you're going to argue that it's supposed to be kind of dreamlike, that that is how dreams work sometimes.
Yeah.
That they don't have any real connective tissue. It kind of jumps from beat to beat, and strange things happen. So I guess they can kind of hand wave anything by saying this is supposed to be like a big dream, a nightmare or whatever.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to bring up was Louisiana as a setting. We talk about Southernism and stuff like that. Do you think that really was necessary for this movie, like the setting?
Not really.
I mean, it barely comes into play, right?
And that's one thing I like about this is even though there's like no Southern stereotypes to this at all.
Yeah.
You just have the setting of Louisiana, which I guess does help with, like, sort of, I would say, kind of giving it a feel of could be any time, because New Orleans or Louisiana is such a older city, and it's like architecture and everything, so you kind of don't get the feel of like, oh, this is for sure set in this year and whatnot, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say here.
I mean, I guess it adds a little bit of flavor. I mean, there's like scenes, they make good use of like the what do you call it, cemetery.
Yeah.
You see like the mausoleums and stuff like that. Some of the like you're saying, like the architecture of like the city itself, because it's clear they actually shot in Louisiana. And there was one sequence where the doctor and the main character, they're talking in like I guess like just like a restaurant or a cafe or whatever, and there's like a blues band playing.
Oh yeah.
And like the guys are like right next to them.
Like that's gotta hurt.
And like
their ears for sure.
They don't have to like raise their voices or anything. It's just, again, because everything's ADR'd afterwards. So I thought that was like a little funny beat.
Yeah, but I did like that, how there is no bias towards the South. Like there are none of those stereotypes or anything in this, because I mean it's an Italian director. Like he don't know any of that stuff.
And she even mentions being from New York. That's like a big thing that she brings up, and I thought it would come into play at some point.
Yeah,
like, listen, I'm from New York. There's only one instance where she kind of says, "Hey, I'm from New York. I don't believe in superstition like you guys do."
Right.
But I don't know that was really towards the South so much as just
towards Louisiana.
Yeah, or a literal character is telling her superstitious stuff or whatever. Because again, the blind lady is really trying to convince her that something is afoot here, and she's
not having it.
Resist it quite a bit. Yeah. Well, do you recommend The Beyond to our listeners and viewers on YouTube?
Yes, I'm going to recommend it. I know that may seem controversial to you.
What are you going to give it? What's your rating?
Visually, I'm going to give it a B. Story, I'll give it a D minus. But no, I'm going to give it a B. I think this is a really beautiful, dreamlike movie that has some really dated, albeit, but interesting, like cool gore scenes, and the deaths are creative. I mean, most of them, like you got people getting killed by tarantulas and all this crazy shit. Dogs attacking people and ripping out throats and everything. I think on the basis of all that, I would recommend it to people. Yeah, I would give it a B on that alone. Don't go in... I should have warned Craig before. Don't go in this wanting any kind of story. Don't want it to make any kind of logical sense, because you're not going to fucking get it. So what do you think?
Adam says, check it out.
What would you rate it?
I am going to give this...
Be honest.
I mean... I'm like Roger Ebert on this. I think I saw that this is one of his like hated movies,
really?
Like in his book that he published a while back. I mean, obviously a while back. I mean, hate is a strong word. I don't think I hated this by any stretch, but to me, this is, yes.
Here, okay, you say you didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Here's my question for you. This is your first Fulci movie. Will there be a second one? Watching the basis of this, would you go and watch another Fulci film?
Not unless it was for like a podcast or something like that.
Really?
I don't think I would on my own.
Okay.
Like
you don't even want to see the zombie fight the shark.
I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah, you just watch like the clip of it,
right?
Yeah.
And it looks bad to me.
It does.
You know what I mean? Like
the
the novelty doesn't really work for me. But
right.
My thing is like, I really feel like this is only for someone that's interested in this subgenre,
Italian cinema,
like Italian, horror, Fulci. Outside of that, I would never recommend this to someone unless they said specifically they're into that. You know what I mean? Like,
I hate fucking stories. Give me a movie.
For me, this is like a D,
really
D plus type of thing, because I can tell there's artistry, and like I don't think someone's crazy for liking it. It's just way outside of my
interest,
wheelhouse,
being older. Like we said earlier, watching it as a kid probably would have really struck a chord with you. But
it could have, it could have.
Nowadays, nah.
For sure, in fairness to this movie. But yeah, I can't recommend it. Although this is on Shudder, so it's pretty accessible if you're interested and titillated.
I think the whole Gates of Hell trilogy is on Shudder.
Is it really?
I think.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure it is. I know House by the Cemetery and The Beyond is. I'm pretty sure City of the Living Dead is as well.
And that's the one you like a lot, City of the Living Dead.
Dead.
You know, I take that back. I might watch that one at some point.
There's not much story to it.
Well,
I'll go ahead and warn you.
But I mean, if you like, it just out of interest in something that you are super into. You know what I mean? But yeah, so Divisive and the House of the Holler Kings, The Beyond. Adam says check it out. Craig says give it a pass.
Never watched this movie. So what is that?
It's like a C.
Yeah, we'll go with a C minus, C plus.
You said B, I said D plus.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay. We'll give it an even C.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good.
As in wait and see. Unless you like Italian horror, then check it out.
How about you see a small clip on YouTube and see if you want to watch it?
Okay, we like to end every episode of the Holler Kings with Holler at Your Boy.
Holler at your boys, y'all.
Yes. Open topic. And today, Adam has brought something to the table.
I did. So recently, well, it's kind of a couple-fold, but I've been listening to a couple of podcasts, and they're basically recap podcasts, where they literally just describe a movie beat by beat, and the whole idea of it is you have they're basically the same concept. One person is a horror fan describing a horror movie to someone who is not a horror fan and hasn't seen the movies. It's one's called Ruined, and it's Hallie is the horror fan telling Allison about horror movies because Allison can't watch them. She scares her too much, but she still wants to hear the stories. The other one is Too Scary, Didn't Watch. Sammy watches the horror movies. Henley and Emily don't. She tells them the stories. And it's been cool listening to that. One, you kind of just get to hear like a horror movie while I'm like working or going to the store or whatnot. But it's also cool to kind of get the perspective of people who don't know like what's going to happen in these movies, who like discovering like the twist and like the Saw and things like that, and not being able to, we've already experienced that. Mm-hmm. And it's the same way with my son, who's I've managed to show him Saw and The Sixth Sense without him knowing the endings.
Oh, nice.
And so just be able to kind of relive kind of what it was like to experience those and how it blows your mind when you first watched them. So with those ideas, I was kind of thinking, if you could go back in time to any sort of era of, well, fucking time, I guess, and erase your memory of a movie, any movie, and erase all the history of movie up to that point, and experience a movie fresh and completely anew, what movie would it be?
Now, this is going to get into the weeds a little bit, but is your memory completely restored after the experience? Because there's some movies that like are formative, you know what I mean? So
for sure.
So you don't want to like destroy all the memories, because that leads you down rabbit holes.
This is like this is like temporary amnesia.
This is almost like Total Recall, where you like go into a thing and it like zaps you and you okay.
Exactly. Or you could like go back, like literally maybe go back in time, or it could even be that. Even if you still retain on your memories and you know the movie, but could just go back in time and experience a movie with an audience for the first, that's seeing it for the first time, and what that would be like.
like I would love to go back in time and to see movies with the audiences they were intended for, even if I had seen the movie before.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see how audiences reacted, like King Kong and Frankenstein and stuff like that.
Right.
Because it's hard to wrap my head around people being truly scared of those things back in the day.
For sure. Yeah.
And I would just love to see the audience live, dealing with that stuff. But as far as like myself, getting to have an experience, I mean, it's kind of a lazy answer, but it's just an honest one, would be Alien. Warning, spoilers for Alien 1979 are forthcoming. Again, spoilers for Alien 1979. Thank you. Because pop culture, by the time I got to see Alien 1979, I'd already seen Aliens. I think that was my first Alien movie.
Okay, yeah.
And then B, I had seen stuff like Spaceballs that like parodied the chestburster scene.
Right.
So like that was so much part of like pop culture at that point that even when I saw Alien, like the chestburster stuff wasn't really surprising to me or it was still cool. But I would love to be able to go to 79, sit down and not have any clue what I'm in store for. Because if you watch those trailers from back then, you had no clue like what the alien looked like. That John Hurt was going to have an alien pop out of his chest at a certain point.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Spoiler if you're not part of the pop culture of the past 40 years. But
if you are an infant.
That's in fairness, there could be a young person stumble upon this that didn't know. But
Yeah, I guess that's true. Still, even like I don't know how I got past my son not knowing the ending to The Sixth Sense.
Right.
I feel like there's no way you can't know about Alien or anything.
But I mean, that's just what I would love to be able to see it, not knowing what was going to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just this because it's so, we take it for granted now, but I think Alien is just like this hallmark, of horror and sci-fi. So
yeah, I totally agree with that because that's one. I mean, it's going to sound surprising. I hadn't watched it till just a few years back.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's what you say. Like it was such a part. I never felt the need like I got to go watch it because I knew of everything from I knew about the chest burster and I had seen Alien Resurrection and like the Alien versus Predator movies before seeing any of the other 3 Alien movies.
Yeah.
And it just I never felt like some paramount need because I mean you knew all that stuff already. You're almost out of the womb with knowledge, that type of knowledge.
It's easy to take for granted. And that's just, I think that would be a really cool experience.
I think that's a really good choice. That's a great one.
How about you?
See, I'm kind of torn with you with what you're saying because it is. I mean, any answer I could get, any answer anybody's going to give is going to be pretty generic because it's those infamous movies. I think about like what it would be like to go back in time and watch something like Psycho with the audience that is just seeing Psycho for the first time.
That would be cool.
And how unreal that would be. And honestly, it would probably be that one or Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be able to experience that again, especially if you're watching it back in time, to be able to experience it like on the big screen, like fresh and raw and new. That'd be pretty amazing, I think.
I agree. It's ironic, though, because Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's a great example of, I had seen, I want to say part 3, and had a general idea of what Texas Chainsaw was.
Yeah.
But by the time I actually got around to watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I don't think I had any clue how brutal it was, and how visceral it was, and how real it felt. So to me, it still was shocking, even kind of having some idea of what was going to happen. Good choice. That'd be cool to see with in the theater with the original audience too. I wonder how they reacted.
Or like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, being able to watch it like at a dirty, just like old school drive-in. Man, that'd be so awesome. That'd be so good.
That would be cool.
But
good question. Good choice. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Why don't you, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave us a comment. What movie would you like to go back in time and watch for the first time?
Absolutely, yeah.
There's
Let
got to be
us
all
know.
kinds of choices. We'd love to hear
There's
them.
it's just everybody gonna be saying aliens and Texas Chainsaw. But no, throw some out there. Give us some inkling of what y'all are into and how y'all would choose.
Quick spoiler talk. I did see The Sixth Sense in the theater, and I saw it, I want to say opening night. That was like in an era where I was seeing everything, that came out pretty much. And I had no clue that there was a twist ending or anything like that. And I was totally caught off guard. I was like, what is happening? Like, I completely was that guy and was blown away by it. And it was one of those things in the following weeks, you would hear people say, oh, I saw it coming way off. And
You were like, you're fucking liar.
I was like, you were lying, or someone told you there's a twist ending and you were looking for it. I can accept if there's a twist ending that you predicted it, but people would claim up and down. It's like, oh, I had no idea there was a twist ending. It was just obvious. Yeah. And I was just like, you
motherfucker,
liars.
No, it was not. Same kind of spoiler on that is like, same with Saw.
Right.
I saw it 2 weeks before. It was like an early screening, like 2 weeks before like the big general release. Mm-hmm. So I had no fucking clue anything about it. All I had heard about it was like that it's kind of like an American Giallo, and that it has vibes of like Seven. I knew nothing about a twist ending or anything like that. So to be able to see that like 2 weeks early and know nothing, I was blown away.
That's cool.
So.
On that note, join us next time for Torn Hearts.
Oh,
this is on. I think you can rent it on Vudu.
Yeah,
correct.
You can pretty much rent it anywhere, or if you are a subscriber to the Epics channel.
That's how I watched it. Yes.
Me too.
Oh, boom!
Yeah, boom.
Yeah, so it's Torn Hearts. It's a new movie. It's a 2022 release starring Miss Katie Seagal. Check it out if you want to be up to speed with us. Until next time,
holler at your boys, y'all.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.